the tape for this, our main event of the evening. We introduce the champion, Chris, the West Side Strangler Brennan. Let's get it on!
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. We are here to go over the recap of UFC 284 in Perth, Australia. Great card, great fights. A lot of great fights.
A lot of really good fights.
We only covered the co-main and main, but there were some great fights all the way, to be honest, from the Fight Pass prelims to the main.
How about Jack Della
Man.
Madalena?
So my buddy Marcus that's in Perth, he told me about that guy before he was a big deal. And, man, is he tough. Just touched him. He was getting picked apart with the push kicks. You know, the guy was staying long, creating a little bit of difficulty on him closing the range.
Yeah.
And then the second they closed for a second, he clipped his head and he face dove into the mat. And I was like, whoa! Like, he really does have some heavy hands and great boxing.
I will say, it looks like that dude ran into a door at some point because his nose is about it's just super crooked. But man, holy cow! And just, I mean, the first three fights were great.
What's his name? Rude Boy, who got knocked out by him?
Randy Brown.
Randy Brown, yeah. Rude Boy, Randy Brown.
And looking at him, I thought Randy. I'm like, man, this guy. He looked faster. He was lighter. He was
so
moving
long.
in and out.
Yeah.
And just super quick. And I'm like, I don't know, man. And then it turned in a hurry.
Yeah, in a hurry.
Well, let's jump into the first of the two fights that we covered, Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett.
That didn't require judges.
That did not require judges. I did look, and it was even split on that one. Two judges had Yair win in the first round. One judge had Josh Emmett. I would have given it to Josh. His hands were heavy.
They were. He hurt him twice.
Yeah.
Actually, he hurt him once, I think, in the first, and he hurt him again in the second round. And Yair was landing brutal body kicks. Brutal body kicks. His footwork, he moved so well. His footwork looked so good. His hands looked great, but his body kick, his question mark to the head, he was landing and looking very good, being hard to hit, and then in one, passing, he got hit. And you could tell it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And, he changed a little bit from that point. But like I said, leading up to this, I said Josh Emmett has that dynamite, that one-punch knockout power.
He looked huge.
He is huge. I made Luke watch. I was like, look at these guys are in your weight class. Like, look at this guy, and he's shorter, but boy, is he thick. His lats, when he bounces around, his lats are bouncing up and down. Like, he clearly lifts weights. He's on a power program.
Yeah.
But Yair's what a stud he is. And to end up, he was active everywhere. Even on bottom, he was active striking, setting up things, and ends up obviously setting up a triangle. And I think at that point, Josh was just beat up. His body had been cracked. His leg had been cracked. His face and head had been beat up.
He'd taken a flying knee at one point.
Right before that's what got him to the ground.
Yes. Yeah.
He caught that. He got hit with the flying knee, caught that, and got the takedown off of it.
Yep.
And then downward elbows to the top of his head. Those are terrible. And then that put him, in danger of a triangle, and there it was.
What did you think about Yair's ability to go on the offense from his back? The camera was right there. You could see a lot of what was happening. He pushed back. He made some space, and then he brought him in. And I mean, you could see it. We were in our room where we were watching. I'm like, he's looking for the triangle. And then he got the arm, and then transitioned. And
if you're the longer guy, you can create that distance when you're on bottom to throw those elbows, this way, frame an elbow. But the downward elbows are nasty. And if you lace your feet, like let's say Josh Emmett's on top and his butt is a little bit off of his feet. Okay. You can lace your feet in there and straighten your legs. Will kind of flatten Josh out and kind of stretch him down to where his head's more by your midsection.
Right.
And then you can land those elbows, and those are terrible feeling elbows. They're 12-6 elbows, right? But it's legal because
Yeah,
the horizontal is like 3.6,
Yeah.
3.6, 3.6. I'm sorry,
3.9.
3.9, 3.9,
Yeah,
3.9.
yeah.
So it's like it's okay there.
Coming out, I took some notes on this. Coming out in round 2, the pace was furious coming out in round 2. I had Yair taking the first half of round 1, and Josh finished off round 1. He clipped him pretty good, and Josh was beating up on him pretty good at the end of round 1.
Yeah.
And I would have given round 1 to Josh.
Yeah, there could be an argument either way, but I agree that Josh, had he not hurt him on the feet with the one punch, I think he would have continued to just get beat up.
Mm-hmm.
But he landed the one that clipped him, and it was enough to, change the momentum of the fight for the time being. So I would have given him that round as well.
So
How'd the judges have it for him?
2 judges had it for Yair. 1
Okay.
judge had it for Josh.
Okay.
And I could go that way. I mean, there
it was
no
close.
There was no clear winner there. Do you want to talk a little bit about the technique that Yair used to create the space to get that leg? It was the left leg to get it outside of his arm so that he could sink in the triangle. What did you see there that was noteworthy?
So Josh was trying to create his own space to posture to strike. Yair was framing to make him further away. I like an overhook from there. If he's in closed guard, I like an overhook to frame the other side to bring my leg through. He has long legs, so he has to make more space, and that's what he did. Again, the triangle happened very easy once it happened because I think Josh, I don't want to say he wanted out of there, but he was at that point beat up, and any way out at that point would have been okay. And like Yair was grabbing his foot instead of his shin on the triangle. The technique wasn't perfect.
Okay.
The finish was perfect. Josh fell perfectly into the triangle. It was a very tight triangle, and he tapped pretty quick.
Really tight.
But the setup was just a little bit of Yair setting up a decent triangle and a little bit of Josh, kind of falling into the triangle.
And it looked like he got really deep into the back of his knee. And then you said when Yair was pulling it down in the leverage, he was yanking on his foot rather than his shin.
Right.
So you want to grab the shin because.
So let's say Yair or Josh is conscious. He's fresh. And a guy with a big back like that.
Yeah.
If you are trying to pull your foot down when this guy's posturing, you're literally toe holding yourself. You're foot locking yourself by doing that.
Okay.
Also, when you go to set it up in the first place, if you start to go here and go to bring your leg on, your arm's in the way.
Okay.
So I go to the shin.
Yep.
Then I can triangle,
Yep.
leave it there, and I don't ever have to touch my foot because I've got my shin, which is twice as sturdy as my foot,
Yep.
and it's like a baseball bat across their neck. So I like to catch the shin, clamp down the triangle, flex my foot, keep this in between his head and my leg, which closes more space, and then I'm able to finish the triangle that way.
Okay.
So, reaching for the foot is like an old school thing.
Okay.
But much better if you can catch the shin, and then you can move your leg on or off as you adjust the triangle and not have to worry about moving your hand for a second and having him posture out of the triangle.
Yep. So for Yair, next fight for him is going to be Volk.
Yep.
And
Good luck.
yeah, right. Holy cow. But Yair looked fantastic.
He did.
He looked really, really good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about it next. I don't know how you go from there to Volk, but Yair looked great. And I think anybody else, he would hold that belt for a little bit.
Before watching Yair and Josh Emmett, I would say that Volkanovski and Max Holloway were a big step above everybody else. And Volk was a decent little step above Max, And so I still feel that way. I feel like those two guys looked great fighting each other. I don't know that Yair looks like that fighting against Volkanovski.
Does Yair look like that fighting against Max?
That would be a crazy fight. That would be a crazy fight because they're a little more similar built. They are both dynamic strikers. That'd be a great. I'd like to see that fight for sure. I think Volkanovski beats him, and I think he beats him handily. I think his confidence right now, whether the fight said L afterwards or not, is probably through the roof of what his capabilities are. So that's going to be exciting to see him come back to 145 right now and see what he does.
I guess we'll get there. Josh Emmett, was it the body kicks? Do you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. That setup. I mean, if you looked at him when he came back out after round 1, his ribs were bright red. Even blood like dots on him, like it was. Those were hard body kicks.
There was one of them where he straight buckled.
The first one hurt him, and then later on, Yair blasted him, touched his foot, and blasted him again, two right in a row, and those were the game changers for sure.
And Yair was doing an awesome job of connecting with that and following up with hands. It wasn't just a kick; it was a kick and a punch right afterwards, and that's not easy to do. To keep your balance and land a strong kick and follow it up with a punch. That's good footwork. That's good base. That's a hard thing to do.
For sure. It's something we actually drill and go over, and we call it a kick punch. It's not a kick and a punch. It's a kick punch.
Yes.
Where you're following through right off the bat.
Is it almost like a Superman punch where when your leg is coming back, you're almost using that
kind of, but they're
in?
both landing, and it's like if you were to think of something you're not supposed to do, if you were to like throw a 1-2, throwing a 1-2 like that, they're both at the same time. There's not much on it. But on this, you're kicking and punching, you're punching and kicking at the same time. And the momentum of one is going to the other. And let's say, I forget what fight it was. Actually, I don't. Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, a little while ago, threw a punch that missed and then threw the head kick that knocked out the guy. And that's the same thing. It's a punch, kick, punch, whichever way you're going. If one misses, the other's there.
Yeah.
And he looked intentional. He missed the overhand to throw the head kick and knock the guy out cold. And this was kind of the same thing that Yair was throwing, but he was landing the kick and the punch.
Is that, go back to Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman.
Exact same one that Alex Caceres is. Yeah, could have used a bigger platformed fight, I guess.
Yeah,
but that was
same
the same
type
one.
of work.
Yep.
It was a feint rather than a full punch that
Correct.
Leon Edwards did. But
Correct.
it was
got him to lean the same way.
Yeah,
if you want to go back 457 years, I threw the same punch on Antonio McKee, and he dipped left.
Yep.
His left, my right.
Yep.
And my right kick came up. Same thing.
Yep. It was a great fight. Well, I'll be excited to see what Yair can do against
For sure.
Volkanovski. Yair did win a performance of the night. Bonus for that.
Good.
Him and Jack, the guy we talked about before, those got the performance of the night. It's on the main card. So
Sweet.
It was awesome. All right. Islam and Volkanovski. Let's start with, did you learn anything on this fight?
I mean, yes and no. I don't want to take anything away from Volkanovski when I say that I don't know if Islam was 1,000% there. He looked a little bit off to me before the fight even started, and he looked a little soft, not soft like
physique-wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite as ripped as he normally is, and I don't know if that was the rehydration or if it was what it was, but and he just looked a little more concerned than he does any other time. Now, he's also never fought in front of that many people that were against him.
Yeah.
Like he's fought in front of that many people maybe, but not that were all for one dude.
Yeah.
And it was all for his opponent. And he came out and he fought his butt off. It was a great fight. I personally had Volkanovski winning 2, 3, and 5. I know that I don't even know what rounds the two judges that scored it fairly had it, but there was one judge that had it 4 rounds to 1. I disagree with that for sure. Volkanovski is just an absolute monster.
So you saw 3 and 5 the same way as the majority judges They gave round 2 to Islam.
Right. Okay. So 3 and 5. I had 2, 3 and 5.
Yep. So they only gave 3 and 5 to him.
I think Islam and who knows? I don't think Islam underestimated Volkanovski, but maybe he did. He said he did underestimate his grappling abilities, and Volkanovski said he did underestimate Islam's striking abilities. I don't know why he would underestimate Islam's striking abilities when he's the one that sat Charles on his butt, in the last fight, and Charles got great striking. The confidence of Volkanovski, I think, was what was wearing on Islam the most.
Yeah.
He was talking the whole fight
Yeah.
like Khabib does.
Yeah.
But Islam was on Volkanovski's back
And
while he's talking
yelled
trash.
you
It
as
wasn't even
round
the other way
4.
around. He was talking trash
Yep.
to him.
Yep.
He gets taken down one time, and he starts crawling towards Islam's corner, and he's saying, I'm already up. Like that as he's getting up. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, he's fighting the best guy on the planet at the moment.
Yeah.
And in the weight class above his, and just so confident, and it was awesome to see. I was so fired up for the fight, and I was so excited. I originally was saying, remember, I hope it goes 5 rounds. I hope it's a great fight.
Yeah.
Even if Volkanovski loses, I hope he just puts up a great fight.
Yep.
And makes Islam look human. Well, he absolutely did
Check
that.
and check.
Yeah, absolutely did that. So there are guys saying, oh, if you thought Volkanovski won, you're uneducated, you should stop watching the sport. Definitely, I mean, I'm fairly educated in the sport especially, but it was a close fight. Had they raised Islam's hand, I wasn't going to get mad. That was a fight that was like, all right. I mean, I'm sorry. Had they raised Volkanovski's hand, I wouldn't have thought that Islam got robbed. When they raised Islam's hand, I wanted Volkanovski. I didn't think he got robbed.
Yeah.
I thought he got a lot of takedowns. How do they score those takedowns? Volkanovski outstruck him by a lot, but he had, 2.5 times their ground control.
So a couple things that are super interesting. You said that you would have given round 2 to Volkanovski. Round 2, total strikes, 30 for Makhachev, 30 for Volkanovski. Significant strikes, 19 and 19. The only statistical difference in round number 2 was Makhachev got a takedown. What's hard with that is that I think a lot of people view a takedown as, takedown, therefore you get credit for it. And you got to do something with it.
Yes and yes to the judges, I would say. No, to me, I do agree a takedown is a lot. But I think that Volkanovski's significant strikes were better than Islam's significant strikes.
And
in the whole fight. In the whole fight, I thought he landed. He dropped him.
Yes. Round 2 was when he dropped him, and credit to Islam, but he dropped him and he turned it into a takedown.
Right.
He got hit and he's like, this sucks,
Right.
and he shot in and took him down. So,
yeah, it was a close fight. That was a tough one to judge. I didn't judge it unbiasedly. I did want Volkanovski to win, so it's hard to say. But then I watched Joe Rogan did a what's it called? A fight
companion.
Fight companion.
I think they call it.
But he had Brendan Schaub, he had Brian Callen, he had him, and who was Eddie Bravo.
Yeah.
So all 4 of them thought Makhachev won the fight.
Wait, no. They thought Alex won the fight.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Volkanovski.
They
were
sorry.
saying with a minute
they thought
left,
Alex
he's the champ.
Volkanovski won the fight.
Yep.
And Brian Callen had bet $2,000 and thought he lost the $2,000.
Yes.
And was cool with it because he thought
Right?
Volkanovski won the fight.
Yes.
And then when they announced that it was Islam, they were all like,
What?
and that's how I was when I watched it. I was like, oh man, I said, that was a tough fight to call. But it's why I think we need a better scoring system instead of a opinion system, and we're basically going off an opinion system at the moment.
At the beginning, or actually early on in round 1, and I think throughout the fight, Volkanovski was doing a lot of stance switching. He'd go, because Makhachev is southpaw, so I think he would start out and he would switch back and forth, and I think it opened up for kicks. Do you think that Is that just the way that Alex fights? Do you think that he needed to compensate because he was fighting against Southpaw, or like, do you think that was premeditated, or was that just a feel for the fight?
I don't know. He has a very high fight IQ. That wasn't. If you watch that fight over again or watch it on mute, it wasn't a brawl. It wasn't a barn burn. It wasn't like a crazy fight. It was very technical on both guys' parts. That was two high-level guys fighting each other, and it showed the whole fight. And there was so much on the line that every punch that landed, you're just like, oh, my God. Oh, like you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. So it was a tough one to call. Again, we've gone over this on a previous podcast before. There are people making comments that it should have at least been a split decision.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a thing. Like a split decision, we've gone over this before, is not 2 rounds to 1. It's 2 judges to 1.
Right.
So if you're saying it should be a split decision, you're saying, well, one of you guys should have thought the other guy won. You're basically telling one of your opinions should have been the other way around. And so it doesn't make sense to say it should have been I wouldn't be surprised if it was a split decision. Makes sense because, I could see someone else thinking that, but saying it should have been a split decision, it's not a accurate statement.
Yeah. In round 2, Volkanovski had there was a scramble that was really, really awesome where Islam tangled up Volkanovski, tried to take him down. I think he got him down, and immediately Volkanovski got into a whizzer and flipped it on him.
Yeah. Belly down. Went belly down, pancaked on it with the whizzer, and then popped up out the side.
Like you said, the fight IQ and just the level of grappling that Volkanovski has is just unreal. Islam's amazing as well, and I guess probably technically better, but seeing what Volkanovski was able to do was interesting. I also noticed I think it was after round 2 when Volkanovski sat down. They were talking to him. He's like, he's not that strong.
He's not that strong.
I was like,
who sits down after a round with a Dagestani guy and says, hey, he's not that strong? From the weight class below.
A rugby player?
Yeah, clearly.
I mean,
clearly.
Round 4, just about halfway into it, Islam shot in and had a beautiful takedown. And I think that he set him up a little bit and then shot in really quick. And the announcers, I think Bisbing was going nuts. He's like, oh, that takedown was amazing. Was it because he set up the hands?
Yeah.
Is that
good timing?
Okay.
Perfect timing. Got Volkanovski throwing a punch.
Yep.
And was then deep on his hips off of that.
Volkanovski was jumping, and we talked about this. Volkanovski actually has a longer range, but I noticed that when he was going in for strikes, he was jumping in and attacking. He was getting in and getting out, and I'm surprised he didn't use his range more because he does have a longer reach.
He does, but Islam's taller by a lot.
Yeah.
So in order to get to his face, if Islam's not at his level, he still has to get in to make up that difference. And so Islam fought super high level range fight. Like he kept range very well the whole fight. And that's what created a problem for Volkanovski, having him to have to get in and get out and get in and get out. He didn't want to get in and stay because, like, hypothetically, if you're the shorter guy, you want to fight from the inside.
Yep.
Well, you don't want to stay inside with him because he wants to get a hold of you. So that's why he's in and he's out and he's in and he's out.
I did notice one time, I think it was twice actually, they got in a clinch, and it was weird because Volkanovski immediately went down and put his right hand on Islam's hip.
Yeah.
What's the strategy? Is that just
Block
spacing?
from knees, keep from knees.
Gotcha.
Keep him from getting closer to get a body lock on him. That's all.
It was weird. It almost looked like they were dancing for a second. I'm like, I've never seen a hand go down there before, but that was something that was foreign to me to see.
Yeah, if you're close, let's say I'm close to this side, I'm going to block this side.
Yeah.
So your knee can't come up on that side.
Round 4 was the most frustrating out of all the rounds for me. 2 reasons for it. Number 1, the ref had to come in, and I didn't look. I recognized the ref, but I can't remember who was the name. Do you remember who the ref was?
Who was reffing? Was he holding his gloves?
Yeah.
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 The body lock. So let's go back to holding the gloves for a second. That was frustrating for me. Was it Islam that was holding on to? Could you tell who was holding whose gloves?
I don't know, but if in that position, I would if someone's on my back, I'd be the one holding the glove.
Okay.
I don't imagine Islam was holding the glove because he wants his neck.
Okay.
You know, he could have been holding it to just keep position, but I'd imagine Volkanovski was probably pulling on it.
Yeah.
And he would grab at the top and
grab
hold that
at
way.
the cuff and pulling down to make
just
some.
keep
Got
space.
it. Okay. Yeah. I saw it. I just couldn't tell. I'm like,
I don't know who it was, but I would imagine the position they were in, it was Volkanovski that was holding the glove.
The other thing that frustrated me is that takedown came in. That was the takedown we talked about. And then for the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds, he was
back control,
just body triangle and on his back. And you could even, the last minute, Volkanovski was getting upset. He's like, do something, you know, and that's when the talking.
He doesn't have to, though, and that's a position that's very difficult to get out of.
Yeah.
And Islam knows that, and he was trying to get it the first 2 times that he ended up. I think he was on his back twice before that for a short period of time, and he kept blocking that triangle from happening, and would get out. And so I think that once he got that, he wasn't going to let go of that. He wasn't going to. You know,
and I get it. It's a superior position.
He's winning time.
He's winning the time.
Yeah.
And he was aggressive. How about Volkanovski's defense around the choke, though? I mean, there was
solid defense and offense. He was punching from there, talking trash from there, landing punches from there. I was like, dude, who is this guy?
At the end of round 1, there's 8 seconds left, and he's getting his face cranked, and he gets out of it, and he's throwing like a shaka to the crowd. I'm just like, this guy's just built different.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. There was one other. Volkanovski got a punch trip combo in the 3rd round. I think it was an overhand right, and then he swept him with his left leg, and he caught him and tripped him and dropped Islam quick. And again, that's something that I haven't seen.
It's the same thing he does to. I think it was Max that he did it to. I can't remember, but it's something he's used before. Super technical.
Yeah. And you got to do that just right. And you got to know when to use it. You can't use that at any time.
Yeah.
So, really great fight. I think that one lived up to all the hype that it was going to be.
Like I said, it was a great card, top to bottom.
Yeah.
And Australia didn't disappoint.
Nope. And that got fight of the night, so they got a bonus on top of that.
Oh, good for them. $1,050,000.
Right. So, do you believe now? Pound for pound number 1 and pound for pound number 2 fought, which I believe I heard was the first time that's ever actually happened. Usually the pound for pound, there's so much disparity in weights that you can't do that. Does it change anything for you?
I still think Islam. Sorry, I still think Volkanovski's the pound for pound champ. I think he's better. I think if the smaller guy comes up and puts up a fight that people can't tell who the winner was, the smaller guy is the better fighter. That's just my opinion. If Mighty Mouse fought John Jones or who's the heavyweight? Francis Ngannou. If they fought each other, who's going to win?
It's no
right, but that doesn't make Ngannou better than Mighty Mouse on the pound for pound rankings. Sure. So I know they're much closer, only being a 10-pound weight class. I know they're much closer, and that's a tougher conversation to have. But I just feel like if they fought again, that Volkanovski would make it easier.
You think they're going to run it back?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't. The only reason they wouldn't is because Islam hasn't fought anybody in the top 6 guys in his weight class.
Yeah, and we talked about this before.
Yeah, we did. And he had the easier route there. You know, he what's his name? Thiago Moises.
Yes.
Is the toughest guy he had fought.
Yes.
And that guy's where? 7?
Yeah,
6, 7?
Let me pull it up.
Not?
Not.
Right. Not in the top 10?
Not in the top 15.
Are you still on? Go back to.
Yeah.
55?
Lightweight. He's not in the top 15.
So there you have it.
I do want to give, I think Islam gets a lot of credit because he started out, worked his way up, got a title shot, and immediately said, I want the pound for pound.
Right.
I mean, he's shot up quick, but he hasn't shied away from the 2 fights that were
For sure,
that were
for
meaningful.
sure.
And again, we've talked
I
about
don't know.
this.
I'm going to start some controversy. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but there are pictures of him with bruises on his arm.
Who?
And Islam. And Dan Hooker called him whatever he called him, a name, and said, you think you're going to fly to Australia, use one of our nurses for an IV, and we're not going to find out about it? And I guess now they're looking into if he IV'd, because it's illegal. In the UFC, it's illegal. So if he did, and they know it, is there going to be a problem with the fight, the result, the suspension, anything? I know people that have been suspended for it, one person for sure. But I don't know that they would do it to him or not, or if they could prove it or not. But regardless, I saw the picture, and it was bruised right on this vein. And I was like, oh, wow. So we'll see how that turns out. We'll come back and talk about it if something happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Awesome, man. It was a great night for fights. It was a great weekend overall.
Awesome. Fantastic card. Perth, Australia, you killed it. We'll see you guys next time.
It is all over, just like that.